Welcome, please. Take a seat. I know it's not much, but, well, us travellers have to get used to roughing it. After all, the road gets harder before it gets easier. But while you're here, perhaps I could interest you in a story? One that might pique your attention? Filled with horror, intrigue, mystery, and discovery. One you will not hear anywhere else. My story. Sitting comfortably? Great. So my story isn't anything too intense in the beginning. There wasn't any prophecy of my birth, nor did any great calamity befall mankind from it. In fact, if it weren't for the small incidents that surrounded my early life, one would have expected my life to be nothing out of the ordinary. The small incidents I speak of revolve around the general sort of events one might find in life. Hearing someone call out your name when no one did. The sensations of being watched when no one is around. Or that feeling that something resides in your cupboard. Especially after that night when you woke up, watched the cupboard door slowly open, only to see something slide across the floor, slip under your bed, and have your bed begin to violently shake. You know, normal stuff most kids have to deal with. Huh. You didn't have to deal with all of those? Okay, well, I suppose it might not be so common, but by the time this story is done, something coming out of the cupboard and shaking your bed will seem as common as getting a cup of coffee in the morning. The big incidents began a bit later on, around the age of 8 or so. We had the incident with the bed I mentioned, and then we had a night when all 7 doors in the house, including the heavy wooden doors, all slammed shut at the exact same moment. And then there was, and still is technically, that thing in my pool. It likes to take the form of a shark and scare people out of the pool. I did once or twice try to convince my dad that this place was haunted. He vehemently denied it, being a man of strict principles and belief not only in the physical realm, but in the Roman Catholic Church too. And save for the pool, well, he was right. The house wasn't haunted. What my young mind had failed to understand, however, was that it wasn't necessary for a house to be haunted, and that other things could be. The night it took a twist for the terrifying was one I still remember to this day. We were watching a film interpretation of Sherlock Holmes and the Hound of the Baskervilles. No, not the Benedict Cumberbatch version. This was around 93 or 94. It ran through the story as traditionally told by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. But that dog, it didn't just freak me out, oh no, because what did freak me out was seeing the dog outside in the garden. At least glimpses of it. It would move about the garden, chasing me on the outside as I ran from room to room, seeking a place to hide from it. Its appearance was always infrequent, but it felt like it was always watching me. There were times when we were coming home late at night, and I could feel it waiting for us to get home. I knew the dog was there. I knew it was waiting. Being young and without the internet, I couldn't find any answer to my predicament. I checked out the books at the library on ghosts, but nothing ever talked of this ferocious dog. It wasn't until I looked through a book my brother had, one on monsters, that I finally found my answer. As I flipped through the pages, looking at creatures from monster movies to lake creatures, to even the Mothman, I thought it hopeless until I turned the page and came face to face with the terror that had haunted me. There, sitting on the page, was the artistic interpretation of a large black dog with glowing eyes staring directly at me. A shiver of fear ran through my body as I read the name of my predator. The Barghest. The Shak. The Black Dog. trembled in fear as I kept reading, unable to tear my eyes from the page, as I felt it creeping outside, reading all about how they were the harbingers of death. All the while my young mind asking, why was it after me? Why did it want me? Looking back, I can understand why it was there. Had I known what was about to happen, well, honestly, I can't tell you whether I'd have been more or less terrified about the situation. I can't even tell you whether I'd have been more certain that I was going to die. Either way, what I can say is that when they say the black dog is a sign of death, well, I fully agree with them. I became sick. Idiopathic thrombocytopenic purpura, they called it. At least, once they knew it was not leukemia. My platelet count, which for a young child should have been 250,000, was 15,000. Not even 10%. One wrong move, and I would bleed to death. I was in and out of hospital for 6 months, with blood tests nearly every day, until the doctors proclaimed, "There's nothing more we can do for him. The amount of cortisone needed to keep him going is dangerous, and when reduced, his body doesn't keep up the effects. We can only try let his body heal itself." When I went home for the last time, I failed to notice that something was missing from the garden. Now this would be the perfect place to end the story here. The black dog appears, foretells of a close encounter with death, but narrowly avoiding it. I get better, and life continues as normal. It gives credence to some of the theories around the black dogs, and even possibly postulate new ideas on how they act. But that's not how the story ends, no. I was eventually declared cured at the age of 16. A young, strapping, healthy lad who survived nearly dying to a terrible disease. But they weren't done with me yet. It was now winter during my 16th year. For a while, nothing on the big scale had happened. Things seemed to be settling down. To set the scene, in my country, after 5:30 p.m. in midwinter, it is dark, pitch black, and incredibly cold too, because our houses are designed more to lose heat than to retain it, because of our hot summers. As such, everyone was in the living room, enjoying a warm fire, while the rest of the house lay in that darkness. I decided, for some reason, that I wanted to head to my bedroom. I walked into the hall, closed the door behind me, and entrapped myself in that darkness, something I had done countless times before. Naturally, I reached out to turn on the light, and not 3 feet away from me was a growling, dark mass of terror in the shape of a dog. Its teeth were razor-sharp and bared, and it stared into my soul through those piercing, fearsome eyes. The black dog was there, in my corridor, in my house, in the very place I felt the safest from anything. I don't know what it did next, or how long it was there, because I turned and ran out of the hallway, opening and slamming that door behind me. I was scolded for doing so, but I didn't care. I had just had another brush with the black dogs. They were still there, still out there, and they had just shown there was nowhere I could hide from them. The message was clear. I was their prey, and they were my hunters. And although I had just survived a brush with death, the hunt was still on. My story had just begun.